Well, I've got my first guest in this morning, and she's a bit of a pioneer. She founded something called the Grace Project. I like the name, actually. Came across it, a mention of it in the paper, the Baptist Times, and discovered it was operating in our area, but I'm not going to attempt to explain it when I can get Rachel Coupe, who's here to do the job for me. Good morning to you.
Good morning to you.
Thanks for coming in so early. Now, describe the Grace Project for me. What's it set out to do?
Right, the Grace Project, in the first instance, is providing churches with part-time children's workers. So it just makes that easy for them. We do all the hard bits, and they get to have 25% or 1/4 of a children's worker, 1 day a week and 1 Sunday a month.
So they get 1/4 of a children's worker?
They do, yes.
How does that work out?
It's quite simple, really. They go 1 day a week, midweek, and 1 Sunday a month to each of their churches. So a full-time worker would have 4 churches that they work for.
And why is it called? Why did you call it the Grace Project?
The Grace Project is called that because of a piece of research that they did. It was asking the question, what makes a child remain a church member rather than drop out, say, at the age of 10. And the biggest factor that they found out was that the children who stayed into their teenage years were the ones who understood about God's grace. God's grace is his unconditional love. That means that he gives us gifts that we don't deserve, and he loves us whatever.
Well, that's interesting. You see,
Yes,
you
yeah.
didn't think I was going to ask that question, did you? Now, was it easy to convince churches to sign up to this?
Well, we did send out a mailing, and we were very pleasantly surprised at how many churches responded. There's a real need out there for churches to have part-time children's workers.
And I suppose you're giving something... Is it free of charge?
No, the churches pay their way. They pay the cost of the project. Yeah, the first few churches that joined were subsidised, but no, the churches pay their way.
Now, obviously, we found you in the Baptist Times. Are you just linked with Baptist churches?
Not at all. In fact, we have more Methodist churches than any other denomination, but we have Anglican churches and also United Reformed churches involved as well.
And when you were, starting this project, what made you think there was actually a need for this?
Right, well, I was working as a volunteer as the Children's Work Secretary for the United Reformed Church East Midlands Synod, and I used to visit a lot of churches who had lost contact with children, and they were desperate to have children come and join them again, and they hadn't got the resources to do it. The resources they hadn't got was the people power, people with time and skills who could actually establish a new children's work programme and to develop it. And I just thought that it wasn't going to be possible unless they had somebody coming in and working alongside them at the chalk face with them.
Absolutely. Now, how long have you been going?
This is our 3rd year of operation, so 2.5 years since our first church has joined us.
And what sort of results have you had? I mean, how many workers have you got now?
We've now got 5 full-time workers and 2 part-time workers. That's 17 different churches that we're working in. We're getting into schools, taking assemblies, lunch clubs, after-school clubs, and lots of toddler groups. And
can you see it expanding? Because it's Kegworth today, and like I said earlier on, the rest of the world next.
I'm not sure about the world, but I think it will go national. We have got several major Christian charities who are interested in our work and who would be willing to endorse it and to help us to expand outside of the East Midlands area.
Now, tell me a little bit about your own background. How did you come to find out a programme like this?
Well, I started off as a teacher. I've also been a church administrator, and I just got very, very interested in the issues that around why it was that the church had such a high age profile, and I discovered that we'd been losing contact with children for over 100 years. So actually it needed quite a radical rethink if we're going to tackle the causes of that, and I passionately want to see the church growing again and all the goodness that brings into society.
Because most of the people now in the older generation, of course, will have gone to a Sunday school.
Absolutely.
And in fact, Sunday school was started in the UK.
That's right, and we can be very, very proud of the achievements of the Sunday school movement. Yes, at its peak, over 80% of the population came to Sunday school as children, and up to about 1960, most children did come to Sunday school, and then there's been a very steep decline since then, and that's what we want to put right.
So are you reinstating Sunday school, or is it a different type of youth movement?
It will need to be in a different form because society is so different. We live in a community where people expect choice, and so church isn't only going to be on Sunday morning. People need a choice because their lifestyles are so different.
Well, Henry Ford, I believe, said that history is bunk, which means basically not that you can't learn from it, but things are changing at such a fast rate. We've got to always come up with new, unique ideas. Is that the kind of thing you're trying to do?
Absolutely, and yes, the different ways in which the generations function is key, and we need to provide services for children as well as for adults and for young people too, and those are going to need to be different as society changes.
Now, I suppose those that it makes the most difference to, the children, what do they think about all this?
They love the clubs. They enjoy having somewhere to come with their friends, and they have a lot of fun.
Well, that's great. Now, if anyone would like to take part or just find out more, give us your website and any contact details.
Certainly, it's www.graceproject.org.uk. www.graceproject.org.uk. Please visit us and you can get in touch.
Rachel, thank you for joining us on Sunday Breakfast.
Thank you.
Rachel Coupe there from the Grace Project, and of course if you want to find out more about that, get involved. You've had the website. You can also get in touch with us at BBC Radio Derby. 01332 616161 is the number to call. Alex is manning the phones and he'll give you all the details so you can get in touch with her direct.